and welcome to another spiritless episode of We Only Look Thin. Wow. I am Katherine Weigel. I am one of your hosts. I kind of meant to say unspirited Halloween episode, but it's fine. You can fix it in post. I'm Katherine Weigel. I am one of your hosts. I am a Tiny Habit certified coach, a Thrive Global certified coach. I have lost over 100 pounds. Yeah. It's spooky. And with me today is fellow loser
Donald Weigel, yes, loser. I have lost about 100 pounds. I've kept it off for, 6+ years, and I am here to talk about it. But I, for one, am in high spirits.
That's good.
Hi, I tell you.
You know, I probably should have rephrased it as winner of weight loss, you're a loser of weight, a winner of weight loss. See, I'm reframing things.
Mostly I'm a winner in love.
Aw, that's really gross. Nobody wants to hear that. It's disgusting. Anyway, hi there and hello. And we are smack dab in the middle of the spookiest month of them all, October.
Yeah.
Which is delightful. We have regaled you with Ouija board conversations. And now we are going to regale you with the spookiest thing of all.
Oh, what's that?
Moderation. Actually, well, before we move into moderation, which is definitely very spooky, I just learned today that what I thought was called Spirit of Halloween, which is those Halloween shops.
Halloween stores, yeah.
Halloween stores. Anytime a door closes, a Spirit Halloween shop pops up. You can't.
There were multiple in our neighborhood for a long time.
Oh my gosh! Something closed, and the next it was like a Petco. They just closed for the night, and then Spirit Halloween was like, oh wait, you're not closed forever, just tonight. Okay, well we'll take the banner down. But I thought it was Spirit of Halloween. When I looked it up, there are many locations in our area. It's just Spirit Halloween.
Yeah,
just Spirit Halloween. Is that even a sentence?
Yeah,
like just Spirit Halloween.
I don't know. Well, they seem very successful. So who am I to judge on their name?
It is. I think Halloween / fall. Mostly Halloween is my favorite holiday.
I'm not over the fact that Joanne fabric is Joanne fabric.
Oh.
And not Joanne's fabric.
No, it's always going to be Joanne's. It's fine. I don't care if it's wrong.
I have a hard time with that.
Yeah, so I'm just going to call it Spirit of. I can afford the OF. We don't really talk about Spirit of Halloween, so I can just think about it, and it's fine.
It's true. Do you think we should have put a stronger warning on this episode before we talked about moderation? Because it's too terrifying.
Too terrifying?
Yeah.
I think at this point people are going to get what they get.
Okay.
And if they don't expect spooky Halloween conversation in October, then woe betide.
If you're driving, you might want to pull over though, so you don't get so frightened that you cause an accident.
Anyway, but what did I say a couple of minutes ago was the most frightening thing in the world? Moderation.
Yeah.
So that's sort of what we're going to start out with. But then it's going to get even spookier. But we're going to save how it gets spookier for later.
I, for one, don't know if my poor heart can take any more terror.
You can do it. We'll get the smelling salts. Just get a fainting couch and everyone will be fine.
Oh, man. I need a fainting couch.
You need a fainting couch.
I need it bad.
You do. Okay. So, Donald, what is moderation? And have we ever talked about it before? I'm setting you up.
You certainly are. Moderation, the Oxford Dictionary defines moderation.
People have suffered enough.
Moderation is when you might have heard of cold turkey, and you might have heard of the only way to quit something is cold turkey.
Yeah,
is to exert an effort to cut it out of your life entirely. Or you might have heard of all or nothing. I'm going to be in on this all the way.
Like the hokey pokey.
Or I'm going to not do it at all. Moderation is the in-between.
Oh, that annoying easy does it.
That's right. That's right. The annoying easy does it. And in the case of weight loss, and what we talk about is taking the treats, taking the things you love in terms of food, and not cutting them out entirely, and not just, eating as much of them as humanly possible as you can stuff into yourself before, you get too full to stand up. but figuring out a way to work them into your life in a way that makes sense.
Well, and I think for a number of years, we just heard, eat in moderation, everything in moderation, everybody, which was super annoying because how do you just paint it? Like, oh, I don't know what a paintbrush is. Like, what are you even talking about? So moderation, just saying moderate is not helpful. So we tried to be helpful, didn't we, Donald? We came up with our list of P's.
Yes, the list of peas. So, and this isn't peas, the vegetable, the much maligned vegetable, but these are words that begin with P that help you to moderate. And these are things like prioritize, portion, pump up the volume.
Pump up the volume.
And plan. And essentially, don't need to go into super details about any of them, but figure out what are your priority foods? Can you still eat them but make the portion smaller? Can you add fruits and veggies to things to make them go longer and make yourself feel satisfied? Can you plan when to have these treats so that you're not just doing it willy-nilly or spur of the moment or impulsively?
Exactly. We do not take well to willies and nilly makers.
No, we don't.
Okay, and then additional P's, that letter P's that we had talked about, were pairing, policies, and pivot. So again, pairing is when I get a haircut, I will have a bagel. Policies are things like being a sugar vampire, which we have talked about before.
That's right.
I only have sugar after the sun sets, much like a vampire, but more in the sugar family than anything else. You know what a vampire does. Don't do it. And then finally, pivot. If one of those doesn't work, try something else. We're just auditioning new habits. So in an ideal world, moderating is great, right? You're able to have something that you enjoy in a way that doesn't sabotage your goals. But one of the final P's that we left off of this last part is called pausing. We've heard of pausing, right? There's a button for it.
Yes.
You do it, and it's fine.
Some people might pause a podcast, but not this one. Don't do it.
Don't do it. But pausing is an opportunity to kind of step back from something that might be causing you a little bit more trouble. It's not stopping, abstaining forever, but it's just kind of like, hey, man, this isn't being cool right now, guy. Like, hey, fellow person, human guy, it's not working out. And so we are going to talk about actual real life pausing that Catherine Weigel is doing right now. Right under your nose. You don't even know what's happening.
It's a shocking revelation.
But I am pausing. And so before, and this is going to be an actual conversation, a human conversation about pausing that I'm doing right now with my actual life. So we're going to get a little bit real on this episode. But before we move forward, here's a little spoiler. We're going to be talking about alcohol. And alcohol in the context of it not working with your calorie deficit targets. So if someone who is listening might have a more serious problem with alcohol, please reach out to a professional to get some help. What we're going to talk about now is just sort of the casual, it's sabotaging my goals kind of alcohol consumption. So again, if you have a bigger concern, please step back, press pause on this episode, and go get some bigger help than we can provide right here. But now we're going to talk about pausing alcohol.
Yes.
So here we go. I'm going to talk about it. We have stopped, and now we're going to talk about it. So again, we have talked before about, and we've done episodes on alcohol use before. I think 5 o'clock somewhere, and save your beers for another day.
That's right. That's right.
So many great episodes of Walt. And in a perfect world, I am able to moderate alcohol in a way that doesn't sabotage my efforts. But recently, my relationship with alcohol hasn't been as great. So for a long while, I was able to, again, based on our previous episodes, I made a plan to only have alcohol on the weekends, right? So I'm planning ahead. I'm practicing portion control. Look at all those P's that are coming in handy. So I would have a glass of wine or a cocktail and then be able to moderate it, and it went fine.
So I just want to interject, just to be clear. I know you said the disclaimer, but we're not talking about you having an alcohol problem. This is you have a drink and then it leads to you indulging in a lot of calories.
Right. So in the past, I was able to moderate my calories when I had alcohol on the weekend. It was fine. My weight was going well. But then over the summer, our schedule changed a little bit. We had a couple of events that came up. It was like, oh, it's the middle of the week. I'll just have, I think it was like 4th of July. It was like, oh, it's the middle of the week. Oh, you've got a Wednesday off. Let's have a cocktail.
Yeah.
And so Donald and I would both have a beverage and he would be fine. But then I was like, oh, I'll have a cocktail on a Thursday. And then like, oh, it's fine. And so then suddenly the alcohol was kind of creeping up a little bit more. And what that was leading to, we've talked about it before, is caloric promiscuity. So again, it's a single alcoholic beverage, which in itself fit into my calorie target. But what it led to was being loosey-goosey with snacking. So suddenly my sugar vampire thing was not happening. I was suddenly eating sugar before sunset, and eating more than I had anticipated.
Yeah, and you know, I have experienced this as well, but not normally when I have one drink. Normally if I'm at a social occasion and I'm having, you know, 2, 3, sometimes 4, which is a lot for me, then suddenly my inhibition's lower and I just want to eat all the food. But I don't even typically alcohol is not a thing for me, but in that sense. But the calories from the alcohol, I have to be very mindful of that and working it into my plan. But something that is, just like Catherine was talking about with the sugar vampire, you know, we have a candy bowl at work in the kitchen that somebody, like some mean person, refills every Monday. And it's full of these little tiny, like, you know, chocolate, like Snickers, Milky Ways, like, you know, things you've heard of. And then there's also this snack drawer at work that has these like packages of salted almonds and salted peanuts in them. And in and of itself, having one of those is not a big deal. Like one package of the almonds is like 240 calories or something. And those little tiny chocolates is maybe 30, 40 calories. Just having one of those is not a big deal. But just like Catherine was saying, if I have one in the middle of the day, and especially unplanned, then suddenly I have a very difficult time like not having more and more and more food. And it's just, I don't know why it is, but I have to wait until around dinner time, like Catherine was saying, after the sun goes down before I have things like that.
Right, because things that taste good make us want to have more taste good things.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work very well for us.
No, not at all.
So again, moderation can work in a lot of circumstances, but I've realized over the last couple of months, I've had a concern about my alcohol consumption as it relates to calories. And I've been, frankly, kind of like ashamed to talk about it. And it is hard to say that on a podcast with over 1.7 million downloads.
That's true.
But because I'm an inspiration and all that stuff. But over the summer, it was becoming more of a problem in terms of my calories on the weekend. So I would go through this cycle week after week. Because I track and I know how it goes, I would eat at a deficit during the week. And then Friday would come along and I would have a cocktail and I would, because of stress and delicious tastes of food, I would suddenly go over my calorie target by 500, 600, 700, 800 calories twice a week.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 times a week. So all of the work that I was doing during the week was being undone by my calories on the weekend. And I wanted alcohol, right? It's Friday. Relax. It's the weekend. It's time to relax. I'm a grown-up. I should have a cocktail on the weekend. It's been really stressful. It's fun. I just want to unwind. And I really was struggling with that. It's not fair. I'm sure next weekend I'll figure it out. Next weekend, I promise I won't overindulge. And week after week, month after month, I just found myself just sabotaging myself over and over again. And so got into September. And again, with a bunch of stress, I was realizing, and I don't even know if I told Donald this, that I was kind of leaning toward boy, I could really use a drink right now.
Yeah.
It's been really stressful. Can't wait for 5 o'clock. And that kind of scared me right? That going back to that using alcohol, not only just as a way to unwind and enjoy calories or use it as an excuse to enjoy calories, but kind of getting to the point where I wanted to use it as a way to deal with difficult emotions. And I think that for me was kind of the wake up call of like, oh, this is really not great right now. And I kind of sat with it for a week or so, again, sort of hemming and hawing about like, well, but I don't want to give up alcohol. It's fun. I'm sure I can moderate it. It's like everybody else gets to. Donald doesn't have a problem with it. I just want to have fun. You know, girls do. They just want to have fun. Cyndi Lauper was right all along. But about 2 weeks ago, again, after the third day of having a cocktail on the weekend, waking up with regret that Monday morning, sleeping poorly, I sort of paused and said like, okay, this isn't working. Right? I might want to consider stepping back from this. And it was a very difficult kind of discussion to have with myself about my alcohol consumption because I enjoy it, like I said. But seeing myself week after week eat at a deficit, overeat on the weekend, the scale kind of creeping up a pound here or there, not losing any weight, and recognizing that the spookiest thing of all, the holidays are coming. Like seeing myself sabotage week after week and not being able to moderate made me realize that maybe pausing alcohol for October was something that I wanted to do. And for me, I actually started at the beginning or at the very end of September. I just sort of decided I wasn't going to drink. And I wasn't sure if I was going to talk to Donald about it. Like it was kind of embarrassing to say like, hey, I think I need to stop this activity. Donald, did you find it embarrassing for me to talk to you about it?
No, not at all. I mean, and look, I totally get it. And I think that you've really brought up something that was the theme for me, not necessarily with alcohol, but for years and years. I would just sort of say to myself, well, tomorrow is going to be different.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to like muster more willpower. I'm going to muster more resolve, and I wouldn't actually change anything. And then I was stuck in a cycle of doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. And so I think that, you know, you've touched upon the idea that you really, if you want something to change, you need to make a change. And so, you know, bringing that up and making that change to your alcohol consumption, I think is a great idea. So I think, you know, with me, at least, I don't think you had anything at all to be embarrassed about, but I can understand why you might feel that way.
Well, it was just difficult because one, it's hard. And I know I was just joking about this, but it's hard, you know, leading Wool Place, We Only Look Thin Place, and recording the podcast and feeling like I was kind of out of control or not being able to control my habits and seeing the scale stall out. It felt kind of defeating. But for me, I shared in Wool Place about it, We Only Look Thin Place. I shared in the group that I was struggling with it and that I had made the decision to abstain for the month of October. And I actually got a lot of support from it and a lot of people going, oh gosh, you know, I've had an issue with that as well. So I feel like being honest is generally, for the most part, a good thing to do, being honest about a situation that isn't working. So again, in our previous episodes, I'm a Carby Girl and Save That Beer for Another Day or whatever it was called, we talked about the potential of pausing a behavior that wasn't working for you. So one of the benefits of pausing is not thinking about forever, right? Sometimes when we go like, all right, I'm quitting like Donald's cold turkey.
Yeah.
Quitting cold turkey can seem scary, right? Oh, for the rest of my life, I'm promising I'm never going to do something again. It can feel overwhelming, but thinking about pausing something that isn't serving you gives you the opportunity to kind of pull back and just experiment how does it feel when I pull this thing out of my life for a little while? What kind of chaos does it reduce? How am I sleeping? How is my mood? Was it solving a problem before, or was it causing a problem? And for me, like I said, it's only been 2 weeks that I have paused my alcohol behavior, but so far, nothing bad has happened from stopping alcohol use. It hasn't been a bad thing. Frankly, I am sleeping much better on the weekends, which is really good. I was waking up at 2:00, 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Which wasn't fun.
I do that without alcohol, unfortunately.
But with perimenopause and hot flashes and all that stuff, it was not making me feel super great. So the result of that wasn't great.
Well, the one bad thing that has happened is that I have also paused my alcohol because I don't have my drinking buddy on Friday night.
But I didn't tell Donald to stop drinking alcohol.
No, it just I feel weird just
but here's
having a drink by myself on a Friday night.
But I'm still having a delightful beverage out of a wine glass.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not trying. Here I am trying to bully Donald into drinking again. but pausing something on your own can be hard when other people are still enjoying an activity. So for me, I was willing to do this by myself without trying to pressure Donald into it. Because for me, it was hey, he's able to moderate. He has one beer and he eats at a deficit and he's fine. For me, it wasn't serving me. So
part of it for me is just not wanting to do it right in front of you. And part of it is wanting to show solidarity. And then part of it really is drinking by yourself is kind of weird.
Not cool, bro.
Yeah.
But so I was willing to move ahead and pause my alcohol consumption without Donald participating. A side effect is that he has also abstained. And we haven't actually talked about it. We haven't really talked about hey, are you going to do this all month? What are you doing? How's that going for you, my guy? But for me, pausing and being willing to do it, even if I'm around other people who are drinking, is kind of that's sort of where real change, I think, comes in.
Yeah.
Is being willing to do something even if other people aren't doing it. So for me, seeing it as an experiment of how is it affecting my calorie consumption? How is it affecting my sleep? How is it affecting my mood, my gastrointestinal health? And as a result, and again, it's only been 2 weeks so far, I've eaten at a deficit every day, even on the weekends, which that does not happen when I usually go, it's 2 days on the weekend, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I keep, reliving this gaining and losing the same weight every week. So I'm on week 2 of eating at a deficit. I'm sleeping better. Again, not waking up. I still wake up in the middle of the night, but I don't have that morning regret of oh gosh, okay, tomorrow I promise I'm not going to overeat. Definitely going to stop after one drink.
Yeah.
So for me, so far, it has all been positives. We have a couple of things coming up later this month that might challenge me a little bit more. We're seeing some friends next weekend, and then I'm visiting another scary P, my parents.
Now that's the most frightening.
The most frightening P
thing of all. That's more frightening than moderation.
They're wouldn't it be nice? We're just relaxing. It's a weekend, whatever. So I'm going to have to kind of work a little bit harder on my boundaries around alcohol when I'm not just with my supportive husband in the house. But it's all to say that even after all of this time on our weight loss journey ventures, that as seasons change, circumstances change, and stressors change, that we still have the opportunity to kind of step back and reassess our habits. And for me, admitting that alcohol was not serving me, usually alcohol is served to you, but it was not serving my habits. What? I said what I said. You say, you say so many grown worthy things. I can do what I want. This is my episode. This is my truth.
Just because I say a groan-worthy thing doesn't give you permission.
It doesn't make it better.
It's like if I took poison, would it be helpful if you also took poison?
No.
Like, would that make it better?
No, Romeo, it would not. Gee whiz. Anyway, sorry about that. Okay, let's get back on track. So my albatross, my Achilles heel, my issue right now is alcohol. I am pressing pause on alcohol this month to see how I feel. And whether or not you have an issue with alcohol or something else, I would love you to think about what that something else is for you right now. What is something that you know keeps sabotaging you week after week, day after day? What is something that you keep promising yourself that next time you're going to show better grit and determination to show moderation, but you just keep like missing the mark and then making the promise over and over again? What has you stalled out on the scale that you really are like, but I'm struggling with it. I don't really want to give it up. Where are you being a crybaby? Because I was definitely being a crybaby about pulling back on my alcohol consumption. But once I recognized that I was just justifying unhelpful behaviors and sort of taking that power back, it has really helped me gain a little bit of clarity, a little bit of control. And so pressing pause, I think so far it has helped me. Where might you benefit from pausing? I know when you're listening to this, you're already halfway through the month, but 2 weeks, what could you pause for 2 weeks just to sort of pull back, take that experiment into your own hands and see if maybe your relationship with a product. I was trying to find another P, a potato, whatever P is in your world that is not working out.
A pumpernickel, whatever that is.
Pumpernickel bread.
And here's some good news. Here's 2 pieces of good news. It doesn't matter when you start this. It's like it feels like you should start it on the 1st of the month. You can start it on the 14th of the month, the 18th of the month. I'm just going to keep naming days
numbers
of the month upon which you can start it. And the second piece of good news is you don't have to marry this change.
Right.
Like it doesn't have to be a forever change. I am a big believer in take the idea of streaks out of your life. Take the idea of being perfect for a certain number of days out of your life, because guess what? You're going to come to a day where you don't do that thing or where you're not perfect. And then the instinct is going to be, well, I've blown the streak.
Right.
So I may as well just blow all of it. I may as well just give it all up. That is just unfortunately human nature. So take stock of what might be giving you issues. And just think about taking a temporary pause. Try it for a short amount of time. See if, like Catherine, you notice that, oh my goodness, I actually am sticking to my calorie deficit for 2 straight weeks. I actually am sleeping better when I make this change. And if making that change doesn't change anything, then maybe you try changing something else. But if it does, then maybe you consider, making that pause longer, or making the pause more frequent in your life to stay on track and be more consistent over time. Yeah.
So I hope that my honesty has helped a little bit. Frankly, it is difficult to be as transparent sometimes. I mean, we are public figures, but we still have lots of challenges and ups and downs, but hopefully my candor will help someone out there in the world of Wolt just sort of be honest about a struggle that they are having. So if that person is you, I am with you in solidarity. We're in this together. And that is not spooky. It's delightful.
Sometimes delightful things don't have to be spooky, is what we're trying to say.
Yep.
And speaking of delightful things, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. We are grateful that you've taken some time and spent it here with us. We have a lot more episodes of this show, over 350 of them, and the most recent 300 are available on all of the major podcast platforms. platforms, and every single one of them are available on YouTube and also on our website at any time at weonlylookthin.com.
Yep, and if you are at weonlylookthin.com, click on that link for Join Our Support Group to find out more about Wolt Place. We Only Look Thin Place is our Facebook-based accountability group for women. We are not a weight loss plan. Bring your own plan, BYO plan. And whether it's calorie tracking or Weight Watchers or intermittent fasting, come on board. And we are plan agnostic, but we are a place for support and accountability. I do weekly Zoom meetings. There's lots of ways to stay connected and feel supported on your weight loss journey venture. We have 2 subscription options, a monthly subscription with a 3-day complimentary trial and a 3-month subscription with a 7-day complimentary trial to see if Wolt Place is right for you.
So please check it out. And you can also check us out on the social medias. We are on Facebook and Instagram at We Only Look Thin, or you could reach out to us via email. If you have an episode suggestion, if you would just like to give us compliments, if you would like to give us some suggestions on ways to moderate, some things that you do, some things that you have taken a pause on and realized that it really makes a big difference in your life, we would like to hear from you. And you can do all those things at weonlylookthin@gmail.com.
Yep, and if you have a couple of extra minutes, please head over to Apple Podcast and leave us a rating and a review. Not only does it let us know that what we're doing after all of these years is still making a difference and connecting with our listeners, but it also helps the algorithms on Apple Podcast let other people know, hey, there's a Cool Beans Cool Kid podcast where they're honest about stuff.
Right.
So check them out. So it really does make a difference, and it makes us feel good too. So give us some stars, leave a review. Thank you.
Yes, indeed, because when you think of cool kids, you definitely think about
sure.
Catherine and I. And another way you can help the show is tell people about what cool kids we are. If you are in a conversation and it comes up, if you know somebody that you think might enjoy the show, if you tell them about us, it really does help it grow. Or if you are on the interweb, if you're on a Reddit group or a Discord server or a Facebook group and you give us a shout out, it really is one of the best ways that helps the show grow, and we would appreciate it.
Yep. So if you're not sure if moderation or visiting parents is more spooky than the other, just remember that Donald and I are an inspiration.
The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.